Welcome into Arsenal Report and what the difference a day can make as Rodrigo, as reported by Hand of Arsenal, as has been known by some of us for a long period of time, will be the priority signing for Arsenal this summer. It's huge news. It's the biggest possible news we could get all transfer window if it wasn't going to be named Alexander Isak. And listen, I'm happy we've moved on to realistic targets quickly in the window, just June 6th today. And we've already identified some of our major targets for the entirety of this summer transfer window. You see some of them on the screen in front of you. Zubimendi already being done. We're talking about all these targets potentially being in and done before July 1 even. And as you've heard on this channel many times, my biggest complaint is Arsenal being bent over, taking too long to make decisions, losing out due to that decision-making process, and then paying top dollar because of those mistakes. And the Rodrigo one is smart. It's our priority signing. It's something we're lining up. It's a decision that's going to be made between Arsenal, Rodrigo, and Real Madrid in the coming weeks with the Club World Cup coming up. And it's one that we may know in 3 days is completely dead, or we may know in 3 days is a very viable option. And both are fine answers. Yes, obviously the preferred answer is Rodrigo to Arsenal starts heating up, but if he has this decision-making call meeting with Real Madrid, and the answer is he's a big part of their plans. He's going to continue to play right wing for them in the league, in the Champions League, and continue to get that opportunity. Okay. But if the result of the meeting is we have two younger players, Tano, our young Argentinian, Arda Güler, the young Turkish player, who are going to play ahead of you, on top of Mbappe and Vinny being there, Jude Bellingham, of course, as well, then Rodrigo may make the decision that it's time for him to move on and to be one of the main men somewhere else. And walk into a side like Arsenal, who are competing on all fronts, where he'll get to play his preferred left-wing position. And the best part of it all is, from what I know, from the financial side of things, from talking to a few people who I know who have a good accounting of the club's finances, we can afford Rodrigo, along with Zubimendi, along with Cesco, deals that all look very advanced. We're going to talk a little bit more about Cesco in a second, at the reported prices, as long as there's a little bit of liquidity help from the Kroenke Sports and Entertainment Group, KSE, as, of course, everybody knows them by. It would push us above 65% on those kind of spending limits, but we would still be able to afford it, assuming a sale of either Zinchenko or Vieira or both, because not only the sale price, but Zinchenko is on massive, massive wages. So financially, this deal works as well for Rodrigo. It's looking to be one that will be advanced in the next couple of days, one way or the other, so we'll keep you posted on that as well. And, of course, Benjamin Cesco. It's being reported by pretty much everybody now that Arsenal are in talks with the personal terms with Cesco. Those are expected to be agreed in the next 72 hours. And then by then, it'll be a matter of just finalizing that price with Leipzig. I think that final price will be in the 60 to 65 million pound range, so 80 million euros, give or take, which is expensive. It is. But Cesco is an all-action striker in so many ways. He's not just a penalty taker. He's not just a, dominant force in the box. He can score from all over the place. 11 non-penalty goals in the Bundesliga this year for a Leipzig side that didn't make Europe in any way. He's had massive impact on matches when he's not scoring goals, which is something we know about. But even though we need a goal scorer, we do need somebody who can impact the match aside from just being a goal scorer. Think about all the conversations about Haaland and City, and did he make City worse, yada, yada, yada. Like, those are all around the fact that he doesn't impact the match if he's not scoring goals. It's still important that this striker can impact the match as a goal scorer and not as a goal scorer. And Benjamin Cesco can do that. I expect Cesco in the door around the time the transfer window reopens after the Club World Cup. So I think that's like June 17th or something like that. It opens up again. I expect it to be really advanced by June 10th and then done quickly in the week prior to it opening up again, post-opening up again. And with that time frame, we'll have an understanding of what the Rodrigo situation is as well. We know that Joan Garcia is moving to Barcelona. Listen, I get it. I feel like people are blaming Arsenal for fumbling this. The fumble was last summer. Should have gotten the deal done, sent him back on loan to Espanyol, and then he would come back into the club. That was the mistake. But this summer, he's going to go to Barcelona and have a real chance to be the number one goalkeeper this year in Spain, where he spent his whole life, obviously, a Spanish player, spent his time playing in La Liga. It makes sense. The best English players stay in England. The best Spanish players stay in Spain. The best German players go to Bayern Munich. Like, this is what we've seen for years. But Kepa, for £5 million, who I spoke about over a week ago, the option to have a goalkeeper who at once was considered potentially going to be one of the future best in the world, who has played in the Champions League, the Premier League, at the top levels. He's gone through his bits of poor form, of poor mental, responsibility, but has had a good few years now in the past couple of years on loan as a second goalkeeper. And people forget the second goalkeeper is not just like a developmental goalkeeper. When you're a club of this size, think about City. When Ederson comes out, yes, Ortega's probably not quite as good as Ederson, but they don't completely crumble. At this point, this past season, if David Raya went out, we would completely crumble with Neto in goal. We need a goalkeeper where you're not going to completely crumble should your starting goalkeeper potentially miss an entire season, right? Think about even Liverpool. Like, Alisson's been out many times, but they've had Kelleher step in. Now they have Mamardashvili coming in. Like, we have been the only club that I've seen who are really fighting at the top, who are not prepared for what happens if a goalkeeper gets injured. And we need to make a signing that would put us prepared for that. So I think Kepa for $5 million is a good bargain, somebody who can do that. And we're not spending a huge amount of our transfer budget, which we know is kind of tight for a club that has basically had a self-sustaining model for so many years. We need to make this signing quick because other clubs are going to be interested. And we need to convince Kepa that you're going to get to play the 8 Champions League group stage games, assuming by the time it's the 8th, we don't need a win to advance. You're going to play the League Cup and FA Cup games, so 8 Champions League games. Let's assume we go at least 3 rounds in both the League Cup and the FA Cup. You're talking about a minimum 15 games pretty much. Okay, 15 matches minimum for a club that's competing on all areas and potential for more. That's a good deal for Kepa, who's entering his prime, who can be at a top club still. I mean, at this point, does he need to play every week as long as his wages are being paid the way that he wants to be paid? I don't think so. And lastly, we're going to talk Gabriel Martinelli because with Rodrigo, Cesco, potentially Sane coming in, there are one too many attackers now, which is a crazy thing to say. But with Waneri coming through, Dauman coming through, there's a lot of attackers at the club. And either Martinelli or Trossard will probably leave this summer should we really sign Rodrigo. And so the question is, at what number do you sell Gabriel Martinelli? For me, anything in the 50 million plus range is a no-brainer. You take that money, it pays for Cesco. You take that money and you run. And listen, I think Gabriel Martinelli can find success still like he had 3 years ago when he had 15 goals in the Premier League, 15 non-penalty goals in the Premier League, which is an incredible feat for a winger. But he hasn't shown that in the last 2 seasons. And if you get that deal, you're going to have to negotiate a new contract with Martinelli in a year anyway. You take the deal. Arsenal need to be a better selling club, and sometimes that means selling players who have been vital to your success in the past. And it hurts that Martinelli could leave without ever having won anything. He seems like such a core part of this team. But he just hasn't had the consistency that we need in that position, and he won't be a starter anymore. And if you can get $50 million for a squad rotation player, which is what he'd be becoming, you take that money. I'm hoping that this offer does come through from the Saudi League for Gabriel Martinelli, and he's willing to make the move. He can find such success there, stay in and around the Brazilian setup, and that's really all that he can ask for. Potential for move back to England in a couple years to somewhere else. He's still so young, 23 years old. But right now, if Arsenal do get an offer like that, I think they would have to listen to it, especially if the plans for Rodrigo come to fruition. Thanks so much for watching Arsenal Report. Hit the subscribe button. It's right down there. We're doing daily updates on the Arsenal transfer window. I've got some great inside sources, some good inside scoop. Make sure to stick around for the future episodes, and we'll be back talking, hopefully, more Rodrigo in the future.